Hello everyone. In 1816, a frustrated artist named Joseph Nicephore Nepis was tired of drawing. He worked with lithography, which basically meant carving images onto stone by hand. The process was slow and often imperfect. One day he asked himself a strange but powerful question. What if light could draw images instead of him? That question changed everything. He stopped thinking like an artist and started thinking like an inventor. After years of experimentation, in 1826, he captured the first photograph ever in human history. It wasn't painted or carved, it was captured using sunlight and a material called bitumen of Judea, which reacts to light and turns into pale gray from black in presence of light. He called this process heliography, which literally means writing with sun. In that moment, humanity shifted from creating images by hand to capturing reality itself. But today, your phone can do the same thing in a fraction of a second. So the real question is, why are cameras still so expensive? The answer isn't simple, and once you understand it, you won't look at your phone the same way again. Let's start with a basic assumption. Most people think cameras are expensive because they are simply better, sharper, and more professional. But here is the surprising part. In many situations, your phone can actually produce better looking images. So, what exactly are you paying for when you buy a camera? And more importantly, what are you losing? To understand that, let's go back to Joseph's idea. He needed a material that could react to light. Today, we call that material a sensor. You can think of a sensor as a digital canvas that captures light. The larger the sensor, the more light it can capture and the more natural and detailed the image looks. But this is where things start getting expensive. Camera sensors are not made individually. They are manufactured from large silicon discs known as wafers. Imagine a big circular sheet with multiple sensors packed into it. Now here is the problem. If even a tiny defect appears anywhere on that wafer, some of those sensors becomes unusable. And because larger sensors take up more space on the wafer, they have higher chance of containing defects. This means companies don't just charge you for sensor you get, they also have to recover the cost of the sensors that failed during the production. But the sensor doesn't even see the world directly. It depends on another critical component, the lens. And this is where things become even more complex. A lens is not just a piece of glass, it is made up of multiple elements, sometimes 10, 15, or even 20, all precisely shaped and aligned. Each element is carefully designed to bend light perfectly onto the sensor. If even one of those elements is slightly misaligned, the entire image quality can degrade. That is why a single professional lens can sometimes cost more than a smartphone. At this point, you might be wondering if sensors and lenses are so expensive. Why are phone cameras so affordable? The answer is that smartphones take a very different approach. Phone sensors are much smaller, which allows manufacturers to fit many more of them onto a single wafer. This reduces the chances of defects and significantly lowers the cost per sensor. However, smaller sensors also capture less light, which should result in worse images, right? So, how do smartphones still produce such impressive photos? The answer lies in computation. When you take a photo with your phone, it is not capturing just one image, it is actually taking multiple shots at different exposures and focus levels, and then combining them using software. In other words, the final image you see is not a direct capture of reality. It is processed and constructed version of it. On the other hand, the traditional cameras rely much more on physics than software. They aim to capture light as it is, rather than heavily processing it. But there is another major reason why cameras are expensive today. The number of people buying dedicated cameras has dropped significantly because smartphones have taken over the market. With fewer customers, companies have to charge more per unit to cover their costs and continue operating. So when you buy a camera today, you are not just paying for the hardware, you are also supporting an industry that has become increasingly niche. 200 years ago, a man wanted light to draw images for him. Today, we have gone far beyond that idea. We don't just capture light anymore. We enhance it, manipulate it, and sometimes even recreate it. Your phone creates images using computation, but dedicated cameras still focus on capturing reality as it is. And maybe that is the real reason why cameras are still so expensive. For more such informative videos, subscribe to Why Theory.